Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com here with your Jacksonville Jaguars OTA update for day 7. The Jaguars wrapped up the public portions of practices for OTAs at the Miller Electric Center practice fields today, and it was all about defense. If you don't already know, Jarian Jones, the rookie cornerback from FSU, had himself a day. He forced multiple incompletions. He was ridiculously sticky in coverage. He had multiple one-on-one opportunities against wide receiver Christian Kirk, where he was really tight in coverage, and he even ended up having an interception against quarterback Mac Jones, where he just took away the inside leverage. Like, he's again had multiple great practices in a row, and I'm really looking forward to him carrying this over when the team gets into pads. As another highlight from the offensive side of the ball, Evan Ingram, he keeps doing it. He just keeps having great days. And again, for the tight end who's already had over 100 catches last year, to continue seeing him stretch the field and be used on the intermediate parts of the field, I'm really excited about what that change means for him. He may not get 100 plus catches, but if he gets 80 plus of them and they're over 20 yards to over 30 yards, I think that's going to be a significantly positive change for him within this offense this upcoming season. BTJ had a pretty quiet day, not a bad day at all. No drops, no miscommunications or anything along those lines. It just wasn't a highlight day for him in that way. Overall, actually, Brendan Strange had a solid day. He just had 3 or 4 catches. Again, lining up right, doing his job. If he continues to be able to block when the pass goes on, as we saw from him in the 2023 season, hey, he might be able to challenge for that tight end 2 role with Luke Farrell, so I'm looking forward to that one. Christian Kirk quietly, weirdly, had 2 touchdowns today. One of them, on the play that he ended up being injured on, so the route combination at least. And it was actually pretty interesting because outside of that, he had like 3 or 4 catches overall, really tight coverage, no drops. That's exactly what you want from your wide receiver number 1, trying to make sure he's on the same page with your quarterback 1. And overall, it's going to be a pretty interesting competition that we've already been talking about as far as that wide receiver 6 role, whether it's Joshua Cephas, Tim Jones, Elijah Cooks. They all had pretty much, positives and negatives from the day. Take a look at BigCatCountry.com. We actually have the full write-up talking about the positives and the negatives. I won't get into the small things, but also, in addition to that, back on the defensive side of the ball, you had Christian Broswell, who had an interception against C.J. Beathard. You had Trey Flowers, who had multiple really good reps just against a few different receivers. Seth Williams at one point, Elijah Cooks on a few different occasions, and that's a big boy. I think he's like 6'4", 6'3", something along those lines. And he's truly able to show that he's a veteran cornerback, able to kind of move these receivers out of the way. So it's going to be really interesting. Overall, it was a pretty solid day. Now that we're going to be going into next week, the offensive line and defensive line finally being able to put on pads, we can have some real conversation about just how physical this team has gotten. But I'm absolutely looking forward to it. Trevor Lawrence had a very accurate day overall. They had one miscommunication between he and Evan Ingram. That was the first time we've seen any of the open practices, so I'm not going to take that to mean too much, but nevertheless, they were also working before and after practice on their timings, try to get on the same page, both Evan Ingram and Trevor Lawrence, and also Evan Ingram and Gabe Davis was working a little bit to the side before practice also. Overall, that's pretty much all we have for you. Next week is the Jaguars' mandatory veteran minicamp. That's on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so take a look at Big Cat Country, take a look at the highlights from today, and next week we will be covering for all 3 days